1. We're taking a look at a 1984 Chevrolet El Camino that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $7,000, which seems a bit high considering the condition it's in. Now, I want to be upfront with you all. This El Camino has seen better days. With nearly 1 million miles on the odometer, 966,640 to be exact, it's definitely been around the block a few times. The seller mentions that it runs, but it needs some work. The carburetor needs adjusting, the brakes need attention, and it needs a new battery. On top of that, there's hail damage to contend with. The exterior and interior are both blue, and it's got an automatic transmission. It's a gasoline-powered vehicle, and the seller notes that it's paid off, so at least there's no outstanding finance to worry about. Honestly, based on the description and the asking price, I'd be cautious about this one. It seems like it needs a fair bit of work, and the high mileage is definitely a concern. If you're looking for a project car and you've got the skills to tackle the issues, it might be worth a look. But if you're after a daily driver, you might want to keep searching. As always, if you do decide to check it out, make sure to get it thoroughly inspected by a trusted mechanic before making any decisions. And don't be afraid to negotiate on the price. With the work it needs, there's definitely room to haggle. That's my take on this 1984 Chevrolet El Camino. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you take on a project like this? Or would you pass and keep looking for something in better shape? 2. We're checking out a 1978 Ford Ranchero that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $9,900, which might seem a bit steep for a vehicle from the 70s. But let's dive into the details and see what this Ranchero has to offer. First off, the mileage is pretty impressive for a car of this age. With just 78,000 miles on the clock, this Ranchero has been lightly used over its 45-year lifespan. It's got an automatic transmission, which makes it easy to drive, and both the exterior and interior are finished in a classic green color. Under the hood, you'll find a 351 Windsor motor, which is a solid engine known for its power and reliability. The seller mentions that the car runs and drives like new, which is a great sign. Cosmetically, the Ranchero seems to be in excellent condition. The seller states that it has new paint, and there's no mention of any significant damage or problems. It's a clean title vehicle, and the seller notes that it's paid off, so you won't have to worry about any outstanding finance. One thing to note is that this Ranchero has had 2 owners over the years. While that's not necessarily a red flag, it's always a good idea to get a thorough history of the vehicle and any maintenance records if possible. Overall, if the condition is as good as the seller describes, this 1978 Ford Ranchero could be a great buy for someone looking for a classic car with a bit of utility. The mileage is low, the engine is strong, and the new paint job makes it look great. Just be sure to get it inspected by a mechanic to ensure there are no hidden issues. 3. We've got a real treat for all you classic car enthusiasts out there. We're taking a closer look at a 1966 Ford Mustang that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $15,000, which might seem like a hefty price tag, but wait until you hear about the condition and features of this beauty. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Mustang has only clocked 35,000 miles, which is incredibly low for a car that's over 50 years old. That's a testament to how well it's been cared for over the years. Under the hood, you'll find the original 289 V8 engine, which is paired with the original automatic transmission. This combination is known for its reliability and power, and it's sure to put a smile on your face every time you hit the gas. One of the standout features of this Mustang is the original factory air conditioning. That's right, you can cruise in comfort even on the hottest summer days. And speaking of comfort, the interior is finished in a crisp white color that looks fantastic against the turquoise exterior. The seller mentions that the car looks good inside and out, and based on the photos, I have to agree. The paint has a deep shine, and the chrome trim is in excellent condition. There's no mention of any significant damage or problems, and the title is clean. Of course, with any classic car, it's always a good idea to inspect it thoroughly before making a purchase. But if this Mustang is as good as it looks, It could be a fantastic buy for someone who appreciates the style and performance of a true American icon. The seller does note that you must come see and drive the car in person, which is a great opportunity to get a feel for how it runs and handles. And if you do decide to take it for a spin, be prepared to turn some heads. This Mustang is sure to attract attention wherever it goes. 4. We're taking a look at a 1981 Chevrolet Camaro that's currently up for sale or trade on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $8,000, which seems like a fair price for a classic muscle car, but let's dive into the details to see what this Camaro has to offer. Under the hood, you'll find a Pontiac 400 engine, which is a big block V8 that's known for its power. It's paired with an 850 carburetor and a turbo 400 transmission with a quick shift kit, which should make for a fun driving experience. The seller mentions that the car runs well, which is always a good sign. One thing to note is that the seller does mention a small transmission leak around the speedometer cable. While this isn't necessarily a deal breaker, it's something to keep in mind and may need to be addressed down the line. The exterior of the car is finished in a sleek black color, which looks great on the classic Camaro body style. The interior is also black, which gives it a cool, understated look. The seller doesn't mention the mileage of the car, so that's something to inquire about if you're interested in making an offer. It's also worth noting that the seller is open to trades, so if you have something to offer up, it might be worth reaching out. As with any classic car, it's always a good idea to get it inspected by a mechanic before making a purchase. While the seller mentions that the car runs well, there may be other issues that aren't immediately apparent. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Camaro with some serious power under the hood, this 1981 model might be worth checking out. Just be sure to do your due diligence and get all the information you need before making an offer. 5. We're stepping back in time to take a look at a true classic, a 1950 Chevrolet Deluxe that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $14,900, which is a pretty penny for a car that's over 70 years old. But before we make any judgments, let's take a closer look at what this beauty has to offer. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate the stunning green exterior? It's a color that just screams vintage charm, and it's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. The interior is finished in a complementary gray color, which looks great against the green. Now let's talk about the specs. This Chevy Deluxe has just 45,000 original miles on the odometer, which is incredibly low for a car of this age. It's powered by a 6-cylinder inline engine, which is paired with an automatic transmission for easy driving. The seller mentions that the car is in good condition, which is always a plus when you're dealing with a classic. It's had just 2 owners over the years, which is a testament to how well it's been cared for. Of course, with any car this old, it's important to do your due diligence before making a purchase. While the seller says it's in good condition, it's always a good idea to get it inspected by a mechanic who specializes in classic cars. They can help identify any potential issues and give you a better idea of what you're getting into. One thing to note is that the seller doesn't mention anything about the car's maintenance history or any recent repairs or upgrades. That's something to inquire about if you're seriously interested in making an offer. Overall, if you're a fan of classic cars and you're looking for a stunning example of a 1950 Chevrolet Deluxe, this one might be worth checking out. Just be prepared to shell out some serious cash. $14,900 is no small sum. But if you're willing to make the investment, you could be the proud owner of a true piece of automotive history. 6. We're checking out a 1962 Chevrolet Nova that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $13,500, which might seem like a lot for a car that's over 60 years old, but wait until you hear about all the work that's gone into this classic beauty. First off, let's talk about the exterior. The seller mentions that the car was painted a number of years ago, and while it looks decent, it's not quite show quality. The color is a lovely gold that really pops in the sunlight. The interior is finished in a complementary tan color, which gives it a nice, cohesive look. Now let's get to the good stuff, the mechanics. This Nova has been seriously upgraded under the hood. It's got a rebuilt 307 engine from a '69 Camaro, which is paired with a rebuilt factory Powerglide transmission. That means plenty of power and smooth shifting, folks. But the upgrades don't stop there. The car has a new vintage air system to keep you cool on hot summer days, as well as a Dakota digital gauge cluster to keep you informed on all the important stats. The cooling system has been upgraded with a DeWitt's radiator and electric fans, so you won't have to worry about overheating. The suspension has also been upgraded with CPP front components, while the factory drum brakes are said to work great. The fuel system has been completely redone, including a new tank, sender, lines, and Holley carburetor. Inside, the car has new carpet and seat covers, as well as front seat belts for added safety. The quarter windows and all the door and side window weather stripping have been replaced, so you won't have to worry about any leaks or drafts. The car also has a new American Auto Wire harness, new exhaust, and dapper headlights, among other upgrades. One thing to note is that while the car has been heavily upgraded, it's only been driven 300 miles since the work was done. That means it's still in the break-in period and will likely need some additional tweaks and adjustments as it gets more miles on it. Overall, if you're looking for a classic Nova that's been seriously upgraded and is ready to hit the road, this one might be worth checking out. The seller has put a lot of work into it and it shows. Just be prepared to pay a premium for all those upgrades. 7. We're taking a look at a 1980 Ford Fairmont that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $14,000, which might seem like a steep price for a car that's over 40 years old. But let's dive into the details and see what makes this Fairmont special. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Fairmont has clocked 95,000 miles, which translates to about 159,000 kilometers. While that might seem like a lot, it's actually pretty low for a car of this age. It's a testament to how well it's been cared for over the years. Under the hood, you'll find the original 302 V8 engine, which is a nice surprise. Many Fairmonts from this era came with smaller, less powerful engines, so the fact that this one has the 302 is definitely a selling point. It's paired with an automatic transmission, which makes for a smooth and easy driving experience. The exterior of the car is finished in a subtle gray color, while the interior is a nice beige. The seller mentions that the car has had 3 or more owners over the years, which is pretty typical for a vehicle of this age. One thing that really stands out about this Fairmont is its condition. The seller states that the car has no significant damage or problems, which is always a good sign. They also mention that the title is clean and the vehicle is paid off, so you won't have to worry about any outstanding liens or issues with paperwork. Of course, with any classic car, it's always a good idea to get it inspected by a mechanic before making a purchase. While the seller says there are no major issues, there could be some minor things that need attention after 40+ years on the road. Now, let's talk about that price tag. $14,000 is definitely on the high end for a Fairmont, even one with a 302 V8. It's possible that the seller is pricing it based on sentimental value or some other factors that aren't immediately apparent. If you're seriously interested in this car, it might be worth trying to negotiate a lower price. Overall, if you're a fan of classic Fords and you're looking for a well-maintained Fairmont with a bit of extra power under the hood, this one might be worth checking out. Just be prepared to pay a premium for the privilege of owning it. 8. We're taking a closer look at a 1965 Ford Mustang that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $10,000, which might seem like a good deal for a classic Mustang, but there are some important details to consider before making an offer. First off, let's talk about the good stuff. This Mustang has a rebuilt motor and has only clocked 26,000 miles, which is incredibly low for a car that's almost 60 years old. It's got new tires and nice wheels, as well as air shocks and LED taillights. The interior has been redone, and there's a new stereo system with Bluetooth connectivity. However, it's important to note that the seller is upfront about the fact that this Mustang still needs work. The paint is described as weak, and the seller mentions that they've put a lot of money into the car already and aren't willing to invest anymore. The biggest red flag here is that the motor quit on the seller while they were driving to work recently. They don't know why it stopped running, and the car will need to be towed by the buyer. While the low mileage and rebuilt motor are definitely selling points, the fact that the car isn't currently running is a major concern. It could be a simple fix, or it could be a sign of more serious issues lurking under the hood. The seller does mention that they have lots of extra parts to include with the sale, which could be helpful for anyone looking to take on a restoration project. But it's important to go into this purchase with eyes wide open and be prepared for the possibility of significant additional expenses. Overall, if you're a skilled mechanic or you're looking for a project car, this 1965 Mustang might be worth considering. But if you're looking for a turnkey classic that you can drive off the lot, you might want to keep searching. As always, if you do decide to go check it out, be sure to bring along a mechanic or someone with expertise in classic cars to help you assess the condition and potential repair costs. And don't be afraid to negotiate on the price. With the work that still needs to be done, there may be some wiggle room. What do you folks think? Is this Mustang worth taking a chance on at $10,000? Or would you rather save up for something in better condition? 9. We're taking a look at a 1968 Chevrolet Impala that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $6,500, which might seem like a good deal for a classic Impala, but there are some important things to consider before making an offer. First off, let's talk about the condition of the car. The seller is upfront about the fact that this Impala needs work. It has a 305 engine and an automatic transmission, but it's not currently running and will need to be towed by the buyer. The seller mentions that most of the original parts are included in the trunk, which could be helpful for anyone looking to restore the car to its former glory. One thing to note is that the seller doesn't have a clear title for the car. They mention that they'll provide a bill of sale so that the buyer can get a bonded title, but that's something to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer. The exterior of the car is currently painted gloss black, and the seller had plans to turn it into a replica of the famous baby Impala from the TV show Supernatural. They even included a picture of what they wanted the finished product to look like. However, the seller admits that they have too many projects and can't take on the restoration of this Impala. The interior of the car is a unique turquoise color, which could be a selling point for some buyers. However, the seller doesn't provide any details on the condition of the interior, so that's something to inquire about if you're interested in the car. Overall, this 1968 Impala is definitely a project car. It needs work to get it back on the road, and the lack of a clear title could be a hassle for some buyers. However, if you're a skilled mechanic or you're looking for a unique restoration project, it might be worth considering. As always, if you do decide to go check it out, be sure to bring along a mechanic or someone with expertise in classic cars to help you assess the condition and potential repair costs. And don't be afraid to negotiate on the price. With the work that needs to be done, there may be some wiggle room. The seller does mention that they might be willing to take a trade, so if you have something to offer up, it could be worth reaching out to them. What do you folks think? Is this Impala worth taking on as a project at $6,500? Or would you rather save up for something that's ready to hit the road? 10. We're taking a closer look at a 1970 Chevrolet Caprice that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $10,000, which might seem like a fair price for a classic Caprice in good condition. But let's dive into the details to see what this car has to offer. First off, it's important to note that this Caprice has been around the block a few times. It's clocked 283,421 miles, which is a lot of miles for any car, let alone a classic. However, the seller does mention that the car is running and driving well, so it seems like it's been well maintained over the years. Under the hood, you'll find the original drivetrain, which includes a 400 small block engine and a 400 automatic transmission. The seller also mentions that it has a 12-bolt rear end, which is a desirable feature for any classic car enthusiast. One of the standout features of this Caprice is the fact that it's an air conditioning car. All the components are there, but the seller does note that it needs Freon, so that's something to keep in mind if you're planning on using the AC regularly. The exterior of the car is finished in a classic green color, which looks great on the two-door hardtop body style. The interior is also green, which gives it a nice, cohesive look. The seller mentions that the interior is in original condition, which is always a plus for collectors. However, there are a few things to note about the interior. The seller mentions that the headliner needs restitching on the back part, so that's something to keep in mind if you're looking for a show-quality car. The windows are said to roll up and down smoothly, which is always a good sign. The seller also mentions that the car has recently had a new front end installed, as well as new tires, which is great news for anyone looking to drive the car regularly. One thing that really stands out about this Caprice is the fact that it has a clean Texas title and has only had 2 owners over the years. That's a testament to how well it's been cared for and maintained. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Caprice with a lot of original features and a strong drivetrain, this one might be worth checking out. Just be prepared to put in some work on the headliner and AC if you want it to be in top shape. As always, if you do decide to go check it out, be sure to bring along a mechanic or someone with expertise in classic cars to help you assess the condition and identify any potential issues. And don't be afraid to negotiate on the price. Even with the recent upgrades, there may be some wiggle room. 11. We're taking a look at a 1970 Cadillac DeVille that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at just $2,000, which might seem like a steal for a classic Cadillac, but there are some serious issues to consider before making an offer. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. This DeVille is a parts car. The seller is very upfront about the fact that it doesn't run and will need to be towed away. The frame has holes in it, which is a major red flag for anyone looking to restore this car to its former glory. That being said, there are some positives to note. The seller mentions that the muffler and exhaust are new, as well as the front quarter panels and hood hinges. So if you're looking for parts for another DeVille project, this one might be worth considering. Under the hood, you'll find a 472 engine, which is a massive power plant that was common in Cadillacs of this era. However, the seller notes that the engine is not currently running, so it's unclear what kind of work it will need to get back in action. The exterior of the car is finished in a classic black color, which looks great on the iconic DeVille body style. The interior is also black, which gives it a sleek, understated look. One thing to note is that the seller mentions they are in the process of suing a company called Customs by Fine Line over this car. It's unclear what the details of that situation are, but it's something to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer. The seller also notes that they have the title for the car, but they signed it and never registered it. That's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's something to be aware of if you're planning on getting this car back on the road. Overall, this 1970 Cadillac DeVille is not for the faint of heart. It needs a lot of work to get it back in driving condition, and the issues with the frame are a serious concern. However, if you're a skilled mechanic or you're looking for parts for another project, it might be worth considering at this price point. As always, if you do decide to go check it out, be sure to bring along a mechanic or someone with expertise in classic cars to help you assess the condition and identify any potential issues. And don't be afraid to negotiate on the price. With the amount of work that needs to be done, there may be some wiggle room. What do you folks think? Is this DeVille worth taking a chance on at $2,000? Or would you rather save your money for a project with less serious issues? 12. We're checking out a 1965 Chevrolet Corvair that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $10,000, which might seem like a lot for a Corvair, but wait until you hear about all the work that's gone into this classic beauty. First off, let's talk about the exterior. The seller mentions that the car has a fresh coat of paint, and based on the photos, it looks absolutely stunning in red. The color really pops and gives the car a bold, eye-catching look. Under the hood, you'll find the original engine, which has been tuned up and had the carburetors rebuilt. That means it should run smoothly and provide plenty of power for cruising around town or hitting the open road. The interior has also been given some love, with new carpet throughout. The red color scheme carries over to the inside, giving the car a cohesive, stylish look. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the seats or dashboard, so that's something to inquire about if you're interested in the car. One of the standout features of this Corvair is the fact that it has a manual transmission. The seller mentions that it's a 4-speed, which is great news for anyone who enjoys the feeling of shifting gears and being in control of their driving experience. The car also has some nice upgrades in the suspension department, with new shocks all around. That should make for a smooth, comfortable ride, even on bumpy roads. The seller also mentions that the car has new tires, which is always a plus. Now, let's talk about the mileage. This Corvair has clocked 99,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car that's over 55 years old. It's a testament to how well it's been cared for over the years. The seller doesn't mention anything about the car's maintenance history or any recent repairs, so that's something to inquire about if you're seriously interested in making an offer. It's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection done by a trusted mechanic before making a big purchase like this. Overall, if you're a fan of classic Chevrolets and you're looking for a Corvair that's been given some modern upgrades, this one might be worth checking out. The fresh paint, rebuilt carburetors, and new suspension components make it a compelling option for anyone who wants a car that looks great and drives well. Of course, with any classic car, there's always the potential for hidden issues or unexpected repairs down the line. But if you're prepared for that, and you have the budget to take on a project like this, it could be a really fun and rewarding experience. 13. We're taking a look at a 1985 Oldsmobile Delta 88 that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $4,500, but they mention that they're willing to go as low as $3,500 cash. Let's dive into the details and see what this classic Oldsmobile has to offer. First off, let's talk about the condition of the car. The seller is upfront about the fact that it needs some work. The AC needs to be charged, the power seat motor needs to be fixed, and the wiper motor needs to be replaced. They also mention that it could use a new paint job and the top redone, so keep that in mind if you're looking for a show-quality car. That being said, there are some positives to note. The seller mentions that the car runs and drives, and the heat works, which is always a plus. They also note that there are no holes in the floor, which is a good sign for a car of this age. Under the hood, you'll find a 307 V8 engine with a Holley carburetor and a DUI distributor. The seller doesn't provide any details on the condition of the engine or how well it runs, so that's something to inquire about if you're interested in the car. The exterior of the car is finished in a gray color, which looks classic and understated. The interior is also gray, which gives it a cohesive look. One thing to note is that the seller mentions the fuel type as electric, which is likely a mistake. The Oldsmobile Delta 88 from this era would have had a gasoline engine, not an electric one. The mileage on this Delta 88 is relatively low at just 86,188 miles. That's not bad for a car that's almost 40 years old, but it's still important to keep in mind that it may need some maintenance and repairs due to its age. The seller seems open to trades, but they're specific about what they're looking for. They mention that they're willing to trade for another old-school car like a 2-door Cutlass, Regal, or Monte Carlo, as long as it's in similar condition to their Delta 88. They're not interested in motorcycles or anything that's not a car or SUV. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Oldsmobile that needs a bit of work, this Delta 88 might be worth considering. Just be prepared to put in some time and money to get it in top shape. 14. We've got a unique opportunity to check out not just one, but two classic Buick Rivieras that are currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has them listed at $10,000 for both, or they're open to trades or best offers. Let's take a closer look at what these beauties have to offer. First up is the 1965 Riviera. This one has a clean title and has been driven 100,382 miles. It's got an automatic transmission and a powerful 425 engine under the hood. The exterior is finished in a stunning red color, while the interior is a crisp white. The seller mentions that it's had 3 or more owners over the years, but it's been well maintained and has no significant damage or problems. Now let's talk about the 1964 Riviera. This one is being sold as a parts car, and the seller will provide a bill of sale for it. It's got a 401 engine, which is slightly smaller than the 425 in the 65, but still plenty powerful. The seller doesn't provide any details on the condition of the 64, so it's likely that it needs some work to get it back on the road. One thing to keep in mind is that while the seller has a clean title for the 65, they only have a bill of sale for the 64. That means that if you're planning on getting the 64 back on the road, you'll need to go through the process of getting a new title for it. The mileage on the 65 is relatively low for a car that's almost 60 years old, which is a good sign. However, it's still important to keep in mind that both of these cars may need some maintenance and repairs due to their age. The seller seems open to trades, so if you've got something interesting to offer up, it might be worth reaching out to them. Just keep in mind that they're asking $10,000 for both cars, so any trade would need to be of similar value. Overall, if you're a fan of classic Buicks and you're looking for a project or two, these Rivieras might be worth checking out. The 65 seems to be in good condition overall, while the 64 could be a great parts car or a fun restoration project for someone with the skills and resources to take it on. 15. We're taking a closer look at a gorgeous 1969 Cadillac DeVille that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $11,500, which might seem like a lot for a car that's over 50 years old. But wait until you hear about the condition and features of this classic beauty. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This DeVille has only clocked 75,000 miles, which is incredibly low for a car of this age. It's a testament to how well it's been cared for over the years, and it's a great sign for anyone looking for a classic car that's ready to hit the road. The exterior of the car is finished in a stunning blue color that really pops in the sunlight. The seller mentions that the car has smooth lines, and based on the photos, I have to agree. The chrome trim and bumpers are in excellent condition, and the paint has a deep, glossy shine. Inside, the interior is finished in a matching blue color that looks fantastic against the exterior. The seller doesn't provide any details on the condition of the seats or dashboard, but based on the low mileage and overall condition of the car, I'd expect them to be in great shape. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful engine that the seller says runs well. They don't provide any specifics on the engine size or horsepower, but Cadillacs from this era were known for their smooth, powerful performance. One of the standout features of this DeVille is the fact that it's had only 2 owners over the years. That's a great sign for anyone looking for a classic car with a clean, well-documented history. The seller also mentions that the car has a clean title and no significant damage or problems, which is always a plus. The seller's description really captures the essence of this car. It's a beautiful antique that's perfect for packing the family in and going for a Sunday drive. The smooth lines and classic styling are sure to turn heads wherever it goes, and the low mileage and excellent condition make it a great investment for any classic car enthusiast. Of course, with any classic car, it's always a good idea to get it inspected by a trusted mechanic before making a purchase. But if this DeVille is as good as it looks and sounds, it could be a fantastic addition to any collection. 16. We're taking a look at a 1980 Chevrolet Camaro that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $12,900, which might seem like a high price for a car that's over 40 years old, but there are some important details to consider before making a judgment. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Camaro has only clocked 36,600 miles, which is incredibly low for a car of this age. It's a testament to how well it's been cared for over the years, and it's a great sign for anyone looking for a classic car that hasn't been driven into the ground. The exterior of the car is finished in a bold orange color that really stands out. The seller doesn't provide any details on the condition of the paint or body, but based on the photos, it looks to be in good shape overall. Inside, the interior is finished in black leather, which gives it a sleek, sporty look. The seller mentions that the seats are in good condition, and they've even added some new speakers in the rear trunk area. Under the hood, you'll find a standard shift transmission, which is a bit of a rarity for Camaros from this era. However, the seller does note that the transmission makes some noise when driving and likely needs servicing. That's definitely something to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer. The seller also mentions that the air conditioning doesn't work and needs a new compressor. While that's not necessarily a deal breaker, it's something to factor into your decision if you're planning on using the car as a daily driver. One thing to note is that the seller does mention some rust under the door. While they don't provide any photos or details on the extent of the rust, it's definitely something to inquire about and inspect closely if you're interested in the car. On the plus side, this Camaro has had only one owner over the years and comes with a clean Florida title. That's a great sign for anyone looking for a classic car with a well-documented history. Overall, if you're in the market for a low-mileage Camaro with a manual transmission, this one might be worth checking out. Just be prepared to put in some work to get the transmission and air conditioning up to snuff, and be sure to inspect the rust closely. As always, if you do decide to go check it out, be sure to bring along a mechanic or someone with expertise in classic cars to help you assess the condition and identify any potential issues. And don't be afraid to negotiate on the price. With the work that needs to be done, there may be some wiggle room. 17. We've got a real treat for all you classic car enthusiasts out there. We're taking a closer look at a 1980 Chevrolet Corvette that's currently for sale on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $15,000, which might seem like a hefty price tag, but wait until you hear about the condition and features of this iconic sports car. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Corvette has clocked 69,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car that's over 40 years old. The seller mentions that the engine has been rebuilt, with only 7,000 miles put on it since then. That's a great sign for anyone looking for a reliable and powerful classic car. Under the hood, you'll find a numbers-matching engine, which is a big deal for collectors. It means that the engine is original to the car and hasn't been swapped out over the years. The seller also mentions that this Corvette has a factory 4-speed manual transmission, which is sure to put a smile on the face of any enthusiast who loves to row their own gears. The exterior of the car has been treated to a high-quality paint job in a stunning burgundy color. The seller doesn't mention anything about the condition of the body or any rust issues, so that's definitely something to inquire about and inspect closely if you're interested in the car. Inside, the interior is finished in a tan color that complements the burgundy exterior nicely. The seller mentions that everything works, including the air conditioning, which is a big plus for a car of this age. One thing to note is that this Corvette has had 3 or more owners over the years. While that's not necessarily a red flag, it's always a good idea to get a thorough history of the vehicle and any maintenance records if possible. The seller does mention that the car has a clean title and no significant damage or problems, which is always a good sign. They also note that the vehicle is paid off, so you won't have to worry about any outstanding liens or financing issues. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Corvette with a numbers-matching engine and a factory 4-speed manual transmission, this one is definitely worth checking out. The low mileage, rebuilt engine, and high-quality paint job make it a compelling option for any collector or enthusiast. 18. We're checking out a 1984 Buick Regal that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace. The seller has it listed at $5,300, which might seem like a fair price for a classic Regal, but let's dive into the details to see what this car has to offer. First off, let's talk about the mileage. This Regal has clocked 143,456 miles, which is not uncommon for a car that's almost 40 years old. The seller mentions that it runs, drives, and shifts as it should, which is a good sign for a car with this many miles. Under the hood, you'll find a small block Chevy 350 engine, which is a popular choice for hot rodders and enthusiasts. It's paired with a 200R4 transmission and a limited slip rear end with 3.73 gears, which should make for a fun driving experience. The exterior of the car is finished in a brown color, which may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it's a classic color for a car from the 80s. The interior is also brown, which gives it a cohesive look. Now let's talk about the condition of the car. The seller describes it as a usable project with plenty of issues to keep you busy, which suggests that it's not in perfect condition. However, they also mention that it's roadworthy, so it should be able to get you from point A to point B without too much trouble. The seller doesn't go into detail about what specific issues the car has, so that's definitely something to inquire about if you're interested in making an offer. They do mention that it has a clean title and no significant damage or problems, which is a good sign. One thing to note is that the seller seems to be a bit frustrated with potential buyers who are lazy and just push the button to ask if the car is still available. They ask that you leave a phone number or be ignored, so keep that in mind if you decide to reach out. Overall, if you're looking for a classic Buick Regal that you can tinker with and improve over time, this one might be worth considering. Just be prepared to put in some work to get it in top shape, and be sure to ask the seller for more details on any issues or repairs that need to be addressed. 19. We're taking a closer look at a 1985 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and I want to give you my honest thoughts about this vehicle. First off, let's talk about the price. The seller is asking for $7,500, which seems to be a fair deal considering the car's condition and features. The Monte Carlo has been driven for just 76,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. It comes with an automatic transmission, a black exterior, and a blue interior. The car runs on gasoline and has had 2 owners in the past. Now let's dive into the seller's description. The seller mentions that the car has a 354-barrel engine with a cam and headers, giving it some extra power. The Rally Corvette rims are blacked out, adding to the car's sleek appearance. The seller also points out that the car has customized louvers on the hood, which is a nice touch. One thing to note is that while the car has factory AC, it's not currently hooked up. This might be something to consider if you live in a hot climate. The seller also mentions some minor cosmetic issues, but overall, the car seems to be in good condition for its age. The interior has no rips on the original seats, and there's no rust on the body. The seller emphasizes that the car has a clean and clear Florida title and has spent its entire life in the state. This is a good sign, as it means the car hasn't been exposed to harsh winter conditions that can cause rust and other damage. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. The seller seems to be quite firm on the price and is only interested in serious buyers. They're not looking for any trades and will only accept cash. This might be a drawback for some potential buyers who were hoping to negotiate the price or offer a trade. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic G-body Monte Carlo and have the cash on hand, this could be a great opportunity. The car seems to be in good condition and has some nice features. Just keep in mind the minor cosmetic issues and the fact that the AC isn't currently working. As always, I recommend thoroughly inspecting the car in person and taking it for a test drive before making a final decision. If you have any questions, the seller has provided their contact information in the ad. 20. We're taking a closer look at a 1984 Ford Mustang, and I want to give you my honest thoughts about this vehicle. First off, let's talk about the price. The seller is asking for $15,000, which might seem a bit steep for a car that's almost 40 years old. However, let's dive into the details to see what justifies this price tag. The Mustang has been driven for 99,000 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. It comes with a manual transmission, a yellow exterior, and a black interior. The car runs on gasoline and has a clean title. Now, let's take a closer look at the seller's description. The seller mentions that the car has a 5.0-liter engine and has recently undergone some significant upgrades. A new twisted wedge top-end kit has been installed, which should improve the car's performance. The brakes and tires have also been replaced, ensuring that the car is safe to drive. The interior has been modified with racing seats and a roll bar, giving the car a sporty feel. A new 5-point seatbelt has also been installed, providing added safety for the driver. The windows and motors have been recently serviced, so they should be functioning properly. One thing to note is that while the car runs, it needs tuning. The seller mentions that the stock fuel management computer works, but recommends replacing it with a standalone unit. This might be something to consider if you're looking to get the most out of the car's performance. The seller also mentions that the car comes with both stock cams and a racing cam, giving the buyer some options for customization. The fuel system has been recently serviced, which is a good sign. A battery relocation kit has also been installed in the trunk, which is a common modification for high-performance vehicles. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. The seller mentions that the car is in fair condition, which means that there might be some wear and tear that comes with age. The price tag of $15,000 might be a bit high for a car that needs some work, but it's important to keep in mind that this is a classic Mustang with some significant upgrades. If you're a Mustang enthusiast and have the budget for it, this could be a great project car. The upgrades that have already been made are a good starting point, and with some additional work, this car could be a real head-turner.